Greetings, catechumens from St. Anthony, on this very special day celebrating the resurrection of our Lord, Easter Sunday. I wish to take this opportunity to explain some of the liturgical symbols that we use to celebrate this Easter Mass. The predominant symbol, and the one that we used last night on the Easter Vigil, is the Paschal Easter candle. If it wasn't for this pandemic and the restrictions that we have a large group, we would have met last night and we would have lit the fire, blessed it, and then from there light the Paschal candle, symbolizing resurrection. Everything would have been dark, church and outside, because it represents the light of Christ, that Christ conquers darkness, conquers sin, and that his death and resurrection gives us the light of our faith, the light and life of God. So the deacon would have walked in. He is the one who carries the candle and would have placed it here in the stand. And we place it here visible, and it will be lit for the next 50 days from today, Easter Sunday, until Pentecost. And that is the symbol of resurrection, the symbol of Easter, the symbol that you are baptized into the life of Christ. Another symbol, but a symbol that is very familiar to you, is the altar. Because for you, in breaking bread, receiving communion, we use the altar, the symbol of sacrifice, that takes us to that moment where Jesus took bread, and we would have celebrated that on Holy Thursday, the Mass of the Lord's Supper, taking bread, taking wine, taking the cup, and distributing it, and giving it to you as you receive communion. On Thursday, ending the Mass of the Lord's Supper, the altar and all the sanctuary would have been stripped. Yesterday, Good Friday, it remained stripped. But today, we dress it. Last night, we dressed the altar. Again, symbol of resurrection, that the table of the Lord is set for you, and we come and we celebrate that great mystery of taking the bread, being in communion with Christ risen. And that is the altar. The ambo, and as you can see, is decorated white. The reason we're not using our familiar ambo is because the viewing of the iPad and laptop, we're not experts in film production, so we may work on that. But for right now, we have it here. But the same would have been with the predominant ambo. It is draped in a white cloth, and as you see, we have white throughout the church because it symbolizes, again, resurrection. We are in the Easter season. And if you remember, maybe the last Mass that we were together before we were asked to keep social distance and to meet in groups smaller than 10, you might have remembered purple, and that was Lent. And now we have white, which symbolizes life and resurrection. The flowers that are used, again, in Lent, if you remember, we keep minimum flowers because it is a time of penance, a time of looking into our interior. But now we celebrate life, so we have all different color of flowers, but predominantly the color that stands out is white. For we celebrate life, we celebrate resurrection. And hopefully, once we are lifted from this requirement of not meeting only less than 10, we will celebrate your sacraments. We will celebrate this day with you in receiving the sacraments of initiation. That is, for those of you who are catechumens, will be baptized, will receive confirmation and Eucharist. And those who are being confirmed will receive that sacrament. And those who are receiving First Communion will be in communion with us. Last night, we would have had the blessing of the water, which again is used for your baptism and for a remembrance of our own baptism. But again, the requirements that we are to follow do not enable us to have blessed the water and distribute it. But in due time, we will bless it and then hand it out again as the baptismal Easter water. So I hope that Easter is good for you, and thank you for your patience, your prayers. God is indeed working with us, and as soon as we are given the permission to gather again, we will celebrate all sacraments, and I ask you to join that message of Christ to celebrate the life that he has given us. We are going through a very unusual period in our history, in our nation, but I hope that as we